Hey everyone, I'm Cappy and you're listening to Beyond the Plate. This is a podcast where we sit down with the world's culinary elite to explore their journey into the food industry and the social impact they have made in their community. Today's guest is Chef Jet Tila. This episode is made possible with the help of our friends at Keurig. Check out their new limited edition Love Blend, everybody, a collection of 3 craft roasted blends co-created in collaboration with 5 local roasters across America. One of them, Tectonic, is an LA-based roaster, as is this episode's guest. I love my coffee and I love seeking out small roasters around the country, and I've been fortunate to have had some of these roasters, and I'm super excited to see them collaborate with Keurig. So convenience aside, this is really quality coffee with a lot of love put into it. Also, this limited edition Love Blend, when you order it, proceeds from your purchase go back to support the 5 roasters that came together to create them. Talk about supporting local. Also, these K-Cup pods are recyclable. Check locally as they are not recyclable in all communities. To learn more about the limited edition Keurig Love Blend and their 5 roasters, and to order product, if you're like me and happen to give late holiday gifts, please visit Keurig.com/loveblend and follow them on social media at Keurig. Keurig, we thank you. Hey everyone, today's guest is a chef, restaurateur, TV personality, author, educator, and so much more. I met Chef Jet Tila years ago on set for a Food Network show I was working on, and this guy just exudes the passion to teach and educate and share his knowledge, his wisdom. Something super interesting about him, his parents were in one of the first groups of Thai people that came to America. His father actually started the first Thai market in the history of America shortly after they came here, which they had for about 50 years. Chefs such as Wolfgang Puck used to come and shop at this market when it was one of the only markets to get specialty Asian ingredients. Pretty cool stuff. Chef Jet is always doing something to contribute, to give back, and he does this supporting multiple causes, which we hear about in this episode. Furthermore, Chef Jet Tila has battled the legendary Morimoto on Iron Chef America. He opened the Encore Hotel in Las Vegas. He's guided Anthony Bourdain through countless markets and restaurants. He's an Emmy nominee, James Beard nominee, and best-selling author. He was appointed the inaugural culinary ambassador of Thai cuisine by the Royal Thai Consulate, the first ever chef to represent his country's culture and cuisine. He's the VP of Culinary now for Payway Group's 148 restaurants. We hear about how that came about, why that came about, and we actually hear some running water and wok cooking in the background because he took a little break from testing some new dishes, which he also shares a little bit about. Chef Jet has appeared on countless Food Network shows. You may recognize him from that. And he holds 6 culinary Guinness World Records. All right, everyone, before we get going, we have some awesome merch for you all. Find the link in your podcast player or at beyondtheplatemerch.com. We have those super soft tees and some hoodies and different styles of hats and beanies. So please enjoy this episode as we go beyond the plate with Chef Jet Tila. All right, man, I'm going to test your audio. Can you name 10 Asian noodle dishes for me?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pad Thai, Pad See Khao Soi, ramen. I can just keep saying noodles.
Sweet, that's good. Man, I'm jumping right in because I've been around you on set for some Food Network shows, and I know your talent as a TV personality, and I know you're a talented chef, but dude, you can teach. Like, where does that skill come from? Because not everybody can teach.
You know, Cappy, you bring up a good point, man. My first passion is teaching, like straight up.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So I never thought I would be on TV or in media. So I actually got into culinary school. The spark of going to culinary school was my parents had this grocery store for 50 years. It's the first Thai market in the history of America, and all these really great chefs would go there to shop. I started a little cooking class out of my mom's backyard in my early 20s just to get by because I dropped out of high school. I was not making it in junior college. After 4 years of junior college, I'm like, maybe this isn't for me. So I did this little cooking class out of my mom's backyard, and the LA Times kind of found out about it, clandestinely attended it, and they wrote this giant cover story. I was like 23 years old. So there's the long answer is I've always had an affinity for teaching people how to cook. And I had no idea that would translate 25 years later to teaching people how to cook on TV. So it's a trip, bro.
Totally. And your wife, she was a teacher? Am I right?
Yeah, Ali Tila she has her master's in early childhood education. She worked for Los Angeles Unified School District for 15 years before we got married. And then she went to culinary school. So yes, we're a pair of teachers that live in this house. So education is very important to us. And yeah, man, like I love teaching, and it's really, hopefully it shows. But yeah, you've seen me in the context of teaching quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit lately for sure. I was on my couch, quite frankly, on, what was it, last Friday night? And you know, you go into those like YouTube or Instagram rabbit holes and you're like, here I am an hour or two later. Well, for me, I was on your Instagram page, dude, for 2 hours on Friday night, literally like watching these videos. I'm like, oh, how good can a video about like a pink pineapple be? But I'm like, this is so cool because you're a good teacher and you know how and what to share. And you started touching on those backyard cooking classes. So how did that happen?
All right. Put yourself in the early 2000s, 1999, 98, actually. This is pre-Food Network. So imagine a world, that's a whole like where there's no YouTube, there's no culinary instruction visually, there's no digital media. My parents had a grocery store. We sold 6,000 SKUs of all Asian products, and I had a really great core group of, what would be back then food nerds. This is pre like internet food, and they'd be like, how do I make pad thai, satay? How do I make all these Thai dishes? And I would verbally spew these recipes. And there were no good cookbooks yet, too. This is, 25 years ago in English, right? So they were like, yo, you need to visually show us. Will you do a cooking class? And in those times, like we had Jacques, we had Julia, we had Martin Yan, right? This is pre-Ming on East-West, right? So I'm like, I have no idea how to make a cooking class, but I'm like, screw it. Like, let's just do it. You know, and I'm too dumb to know, to think about all the barriers that could impede progress. So I set up a 8-foot metal table, 2 cartridge burners, like I rented some tables, right? So I figured I'd throw a dinner party, and I taught 3 dishes. And those 3 dishes would be kind of into a progressive meal, appetizer, main course, or a main course and a cider, because I suck at dessert. And it was just by this one group of people who were like, I will support this cooking class. And it was literally, I still have the flyers in Word doc, $30 to come take a cooking class, have a full meal, and hang out for 3 hours.
Do you remember the meal?
Yeah. The first few were literally like satay, right? Pad thai and like sticky rice and mangoes. And then it grew and grew. So I probably had like 8 or 10 rotating menus until the LA Times got a hold of it.
And did they just come in? Was it like a cooking demo? Did they watch in your backyard, or was there like a setup where they were cooking, or you would teach them and then they would go home and do their thing?
Yeah, because we're a hospitality family, we overdid everything. So I would, let's say you sat, Cappy, and brought your significant other. I would literally, as I was teaching satay, my mom would carry, and my cousins who I enlisted would carry out platters of satay with peanut sauce. So it was literally a full experience. And yeah, and then, pad thai, I'd demo pad thai, but, an hour before the class, I would make a bunch of pad thai and keep it in the oven warming, and they would serve it out. So it was like a full, and then in the 2000s, Sur La Table and all these, and Williams Sonoma, all the big retailers created these cooking classes, which was my evolution, by the way. So I went from that to going to culinary school to teaching at a bunch of places in LA.
That's what I was going to ask. You had not gone to culinary school yet when you did these.
Barbara Hansen, who was with the LA Times for 30 years, who's their ethnic food beat writer, she wrote this story, and I thought it was going to be like a little 8th page. I woke up on a Wednesday morning, I opened the LA Times, and it was a full-page cover story. And that blew up my world. Like, this little kid out of his backyard is featured on the front page of the LA Times food section. I got thousands of phone calls, you know what I mean? And I had no idea what to do with it. But that made me realize there was a future in this. This is bigger than just trying to make some beer money and teaching this little cooking class. And that was it.
At the time, were you working while you're doing these?
So my parents at that time had 7 restaurants, a grocery store, a produce company. So my father taught me vertical integration at a very, very early age. And so I would work at all my family's businesses, you know, and yeah. So unbeknownst to me, I had like 3 concurrent, apprenticeships, all in food. So I've worked in and around food my entire life.
Okay, so you mentioned parents and grocery store and restaurants. So let's go back to what you call your birth luck.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me about that.
The first group of Thai people came to America in 1966, right? Because of America's relationship with Thailand in the Vietnam War, right? They were allies. So they opened up a bunch of, and they made immigration very easy. So this giant group of Thais started coming in 1966, and my parents my parents were in that first group. And they didn't know each other. They were separate. They came to America separately, and they met. And my father started the first Thai grocery store in the history of America. So, and then some of the first Thai restaurants, the first Thai import company, the first Thai produce company. So, birth luck means I was born into the first Thai food family in America. Like, everything that has transpired from 1966 to today, the thousands of Thai restaurants, what Thai food has become, I got to see it evolve and around me. So that's part of the birth luck. There's more birth luck stories, but that's one of them. Was the kitchen like the center of the household, or were you always at the store or the restaurant? How did that work? We were never home. So my parents, I was born in 1975. They started the first grocery store in 1972. And then they started the first restaurant in 1979. And then that subsequently became 7 restaurants and like 10 businesses. So I was raised in the business. And I would get out of school. I would be shuttled. So we had, my elementary school was 2 blocks away from our first restaurant. So when I was old enough, and I came from the latchkey generation. So they were like, "Oh, you're 10. You can just walk to school and walk home. Like, you're fine." So yeah, I grew up in every single business, and that was from age like 3 until like 15 or 16. And then after I took over and actually started running some of these companies. Your parents started the market? Were your grandparents here too? My grandparents came after my parents. My parents both came first in their family. My mom was, middle class kid she came for education. My dad was dirt poor, and he came because he had to. He got into a lot of trouble in Thailand. Never finished school, and he made a bunch of trouble, and he had to come. But his dad was like, "You need to leave, or you're gonna end up dead or in jail. So you need to go away." Wow. In the kitchen or growing up as a kid, is there a taste or a smell like that brings you back to childhood times? Yeah. And in fact, my chef Tad right now, he's prepping for this thing we're doing. It's the smell of wok and garlic, right? It's that smell where oil is about to burn. Like, it's a nutty smell. It's a metallic, nutty, smoky smell. And then when chopped garlic hits it, we know, I see your face. We know that smell, right? And it's that sound, that shh. So that will always take me back to being like a 3-year-old in a restaurant, playing on the banquette, being bored, doing polishing silverware, falling asleep, and then becomes 8 years old, doing homework. And then the smell of jasmine rice. If you've ever smelled jasmine rice, not cooked, out of the bag, because we would crack containers and unload them, and they break all the time because they were really shoddy, bags. And so the smell of raw jasmine rice. So that's my restaurant smell, and that's my market smell.
Did you ever cook back when you were a kid?
Yeah, immediately. So when I was 3, right, when I was home, before I was like living at the restaurants, my grandma would basically be my caregiver, and we would get up in the morning, on non-restaurant days, take a bus to Chinatown, buy groceries. And she was Chinese. She didn't speak a lick of Thai, right? And then, and I had a lot of energy. I had a really bad focus, like a lot of cooks that we all know, right? Like most of us. So she was like, if you're not going to do your homework and you're not going to behave, I'm going to channel all of your hyper crazy energy into cooking with me. So I started cooking with her from 3 to, let's say, 6 or 8. Then I would help out in the restaurants from 8 until, forever. So I started cooking at a really young age.
What was the first thing you ever cooked? Do you remember?
Yeah, rice. So rice is the first thing I learned how to cook, like wash, put your finger to measure, see the cloudy water, and then you smell. And then my grandma so Chinese sausage is lapcheon. When the water evaporates to the point where it meets the rice, she would put 3 to 4 Chinese sausages, close the pot again, and they would steam these sweet, really intense smelling Chinese sausages with white rice. So to this day, I eat plain jasmine rice, steamed Chinese sausages at least once a week.
Amazing. So this extensive family training in Asian cookery, if you will, then you decide to go to Le Cordon Bleu.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, fake Le Cordon Bleu. American Le Cordon Bleu. Let's be real for a second. I ain't trying to front. I'm not flexing. Let's be real.
Why this, call it French, education, if you will, in cookery?
While I was at the grocery store from age 10 to 20, we were the only grocery store, second Brooklyn story, only grocery store in Los Angeles that had exotic, big quotes, then ingredients like lemongrass, Thai lime leaves, curry paste. So Wolfgang, Joachim, the tamales, Preach, everyone had to shop at our store, Sang Yun. I would bag their groceries as a kid and then became the truck delivery guy. And they were all big French chefs, right? Right. And I knew when I wanted to get serious, I know Asian food pretty decently, but if I'm going to get taken seriously in America as a chef or in that title, I'd have to formalize my education. I need to frame it around a French culinary education. I wanted to go to the CIA, but my grandma just passed away. My parents needed a lot of help at the store. And I wanted to go to the best school I could, where I could drive there and still work in my family's businesses in the day and the night. So that's why I went to the school here in LA. Do
you think it paid off?
1,000%. I think it paid off. I would have loved to have gone away to the CIA and worked in New York for a few years, but I just didn't have that luxury. I needed to stay close and help my family.
Okay, we mentioned your wife, Ali Tila, at the beginning of this, who seems like a badass.
She's a badass. Ali Tila's a badass.
Sure. Tell us the role she plays in like the Tila business and the Tila household. How's that?
Yeah, sure. Like getting like brass tacks, like rubber meets road, non-TV talk. We have this interesting company that part of it is obviously media, is television, is stuff like that. But I've done a lot of work in the last 20 years in other parts of food. So we have this company, a consulting company where, we work with like NBC, Universal, and DreamWorks, and a lot of big national companies to create food products or food places. She's the CFO of the company. Real simple, right? I'm horrible with money. I don't want to curse. This is a family friendly thing. I'm really good at.
You can curse.
Oh, can I?
I'll hit that explicit lyrics button on
no.
when I post it.
Let's just keep it family friendly. Basically, I can make businesses and I can find a lot of money, but I'm not really good at managing it. And she is phenomenal at taking it all and putting it where it needs to belong to grow. And so she's got that super organized mind. So practically in the company, she's on the media side, on the other end of it, she's also really into pastry. She went to pastry school locally, and she's as obsessed with pastry. And then at home, she's the boss. I mean, those of us that are married, you know what I mean? I'm her third kid. We have 2 little kids. I'm the third kid. Yeah, a lot of energy, too many ideas. She grounds me. She takes all these crazy ideas and at some point goes, hey, you need to chill out and come back to earth. And so we can like really grow and make practical decisions. She's a smart one.
Tell me one thing in your life or business that you never question her about.
Other than money, which is the first thing, right? And in life, any massive decisions. Again, I'm the visionary. She's like the practical CEO, CFO.
Is there one thing in your life or business that she doesn't question you about?
Yeah. How do I say this? Making decisions about the future. Because my mind is always living in the future, unfortunately or fortunately, right? I'm all about what's tomorrow, what's next month, what's next year. Where are we driving to? And she's right now. This is where we need to be. So she never questions me about the future, and I never question her about right now.
What a balance.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I'd be a mess.
Your Instagram bio says immigrant son, husband, father, and cook.
Yeah.
Born in LA, born to immigrant parents, as we heard. How has the immigrant experience made you the man and chef you are today?
I think this ties right back to birth luck. I don't think, all these up and coming chefs that want to be on TV are always like, what does it take, man? Like, what's it take? Like, it takes a point of view. And my immigrant son upbringing gave me my point of view, my food point of view, right? Being poor, being multicultural, being Thai, Chinese, being fascinated with Asian food and really going deep down that rabbit hole has shaped who I am. And also, I think as an entrepreneur, my father was not well educated, but he was, he was a really great entrepreneur naturally, inherently, right? Like subsequently, I can tell him now what he did was vertical integration. And so that all those things tie back to being an immigrant son.
Yeah. Do your 2 kids have the cooking bug in them?
My daughter has the cooking bug already. She's 8.
I've seen her doing some pastries.
Yeah, she'll do pastries. So right now she's making, since we're home a lot, she's making breakfast at least 2-3 times a day, and she's into it. Yeah. So my son, not yet, but he's 5, and I'm not a dance mom. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not pushing my kids to do anything but like be good people, work really hard at whatever they want to do. So, but she's into the food.
Hey everyone, pardon the brief interruption, but I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Wickles Pickles. Ever since their first shout out a couple weeks ago, I've received quite a few messages from people talking about their love of Wickles, which I love to hear. So cheers to you, Wickles. Their pickles are made using a 90-year-old family recipe, and they're made in Alabama. They have 2 varieties, everyone. First, there's an original Wicked Brine, which is a little sweet with some heat also. And second, they have a Dirty Dill line, which is more of your classic bold dill flavor pickle. Each line, each flavor has a number of different products under it. Personally, I love their jalapeno relish and their sandwich spread. Please do me a favor and seek these 2 things out. They're incredible on sausages, pulled pork sandwiches, burgers, really anything between a bun. Here's what I also love about Wickles Pickles. Wickles believes in giving back to their community through donating food and other resources. They support various organizations, including food banks and community food programs, as well as disaster relief efforts. To learn more about Wickles Pickles and their whole line of products, please visit wicklespickles.com and follow them on social media at Wickles Pickles. Wickles, we thank you. Okay, so your book, 101 Asian Dishes You Need to Cook Before You Die. Incredible.
Oh, too kind.
I've been waiting and looking for this book. Alton Brown says, this is the most practical guide to getting Asian flavors on the plate that I've ever seen, which is enormous coming from a man who puts the amount of time and effort into a ingredient. And I'm going to keep going here. In our virtual cooking camp we did this summer, you taught perfect jasmine rice and beef and broccoli, which I've never gotten so many calls from friends who are obsessed with these dishes. Like literally, I think we did that class on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. And my one friend Noah is like, yo, I'm making that dish tonight. And then he called me the next night. He's like, I made beef and broccoli again. I was like, all right, dude, go at it. So beef and broccoli is a pretty classic dish. Yes.
Yeah. Chinese American dish. Absolutely.
What's your strategy to keep it exciting in the kitchen?
What I think is exciting, I think the things that I impart onto people. So Bobby Flay, small backstory that is funny, not name drop, but he hit me. He was watching the class that you hosted, we did, and he hits me right after. He's like, "That was pretty awesome." And so what I do for people is, being a restaurant kid my entire life, I'm trying to teach people the way restaurant people cook food. And the only way you're going to get the restaurant taste is to do all those little hacks and tricks that restaurant people do. The problem has been, in my opinion, the last 50 years, when you try to take a dish that you love that you eat in a restaurant and you try to like homify it and like bring it down to too basic of ingredients and techniques, it's never going to taste the same. So you walk away from 90% of recipes going, that just tastes like nothing like I get from the restaurants. So when I teach you to marinate your beef in baking soda, cornstarch, oil, and soy sauce, what they're doing in the restaurants. When I teach you to fry that beef in the pan first, it's mimicking the deep fryer that they might be using. And when I teach you to jumpstart that broccoli in the microwave, it's just like flash, blanching. Next to my wok, I have a blancher. So I'm just teaching people the hacks and the tips that restaurant chefs use. And I think that's exciting. And that's new to them. Although they've been doing it for 100 years in Chinese stir fry, no one's ever taken it and been like, here's the no BS the way that people do it. So that's what I think I'm trying to do.
Okay, so that's interesting. Can we talk? I saw this somewhere recently, maybe it was your social, about Payway.
Yeah, for sure.
The fast casual Asian. So tell me about your relationship with Payway. Let's start there.
All right. Again, Cappy's asking, you ask real questions, bro. I'm not going to lie. Like, no offense to other casts, pods, but they're very fluffy. Like, you go right for realism. I'm going to get a lot of emails for that. But anyway, so my buddy is a phenomenal entrepreneur. He bought Payway. He bought the company. And we've known each other for years. And he's like, is this beneath you? Do you want to get in on this? And I'm like, I would love to get in on this. Again, take something that's Americanized Asian food, bring some really awesome technique from like down and dirty and really authentic. And let's do this. So yes, I am the culinary VP partner in Payway now, but it's more than just like a paycheck, dude. It's like, I get to take this brand who's already have 150 restaurants, and I get to put my food there, and I get to believe in it. And as a job, I did 25 years in restaurants. I've done hotels, I've done institutions, I've done, brick and mortars. I want to chill, dude. Like, so my buddy teaches me how to control 150 restaurants from a culinary point of view, from a P&L point of view, from an experiential point of view. And I teach the entire company. I get in deep, and I'm now integrated into making new dishes that are my cooking. This is very simple. I hope that explains it, but it's just a fun project for me.
It does, and it's exciting because there was a Payway near me, which I don't think is open anymore, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and what it was bringing to the table for people. But I think what you're going to do with it is even more incredible, because as I've seen you talk or write about, people think different Chinese food or Asian cookery in general is just a lot of soy sauce, and they say everything tastes the same. And then you talk about the balance of flavors and how all these different cuisines have their own ingredients to help balance these flavors. So if you could open people's eyes to that, I think you will. Not if you can, you will open people's eyes to that. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah. And, and I can make Thai food there, and I can make Korean food there, and I can play with flavors there. And so yeah, and we're at a point where people watch me on TV, they read books, and I'm like, look, I can cook for you. And they're always like, there's no Jet Tila restaurant. And I'm like, I don't want to put a ton of energy into one restaurant where you got to fly to. Like, I can be in a lot of different places through my work in Payway.
So people have probably picked up on this by now already, but I'll say at the beginning of quarantine, I think a lot of people were like going at a speed 10, and some people slowed down a little to like 6 or 7. Like, what am I going to do? But I think you went to like a 13.
I went to 1 like everyone else for about 8 weeks, and then we went to 15.
Yeah, and then you kicked it into like super high gear. But I mean, whether it's classes, charity work, consulting, payway stuff, I'm sure you've been putting plenty of hours into. You said your wife grounds you, but what makes you feel, does anything make you feel overwhelmed or stressed?
Oh, Cappy, I did hit my overwhelm point this quarantine. So yes, when again, I measure capacity, right? And I try to live in that 90 to 100. Sometimes I'll go into 110ville, like I'm a little stretched. I've been busier in quarantine than I've ever been in my life. Like even when I was opening that hotel in Vegas, et cetera. So yeah, I felt very overwhelmed. We took on, because I was in fear, being a good Chinese guy, worrying about where my paychecks were going to come from. I got scared. And then I took too much, and then more work opened up. So we were doing content creation.
Well, so you're human.
Yeah. I can't believe it. I feel human for the first time. My wife should be on this call. She would give you like the biggest hug for making me acknowledge that I'm human. Yeah, dude, I got crushed.
Well, how do you deal with it? How do you balance your work, and how did you deal with it?
I freaked the F out for a few weeks, and like many humans, my family, my wife and kids are like, you are exhibiting behaviors. You need to calm down, which are indicative of you being overworked. And like I've got my I Chef Tad. So we have a team of 3, right? We have a team of us, and like we were overmaxed. So how I deal with it, first, my family smacks me around and says, you need to calm down. And then I start to say this word that's really difficult to a lot of us people, no. I learned how to say no. So I had to start to say no.
That's a good thing. But when you realized the pandemic wasn't going away so soon, what role did you think you were going to play as a chef?
Wow, I was really lost for those first 8 weeks because everything was so down. So it was therapeutic to connect with people, right? I think we all needed social interaction. So I started that by doing lives. Right. Every few days I would check in on Instagram and Facebook. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to just teach you guys free cooking classes for my sanity. So I started cooking a ton, and I needed to, first of all, I wanted to make sure my family was fine and my kids were okay. Right. Then I had to take care of me, and this is the going into taking care of me. So my role, I had to stay sane. And then ironically, or actually what happened from all of that content creation and reaching out to people, companies are like, this guy is busy, he's doing things, and they're like, we're going to use him to do things for us. So that I always say, like, energy begets energy, and like, yeah. So I don't know how to answer exactly what my role was, other than to not go crazy. It got to get depressed to the point where I was ineffective, and it all worked.
I usually don't go this route on Beyond the Plate, but I know you're about gadgets and your kid. You need to.
No, my chef is setting up. We have a virtual 3:00 with Payway. So yeah, he's ahead of me. I go from hanging out with you to pre-pro to this other thing, but no, we're good.
Can we tease some dishes, or are we?
Yeah, no, for sure, not at all. No, not at all. No, we're doing again. People might find this interesting, but yeah, we're doing social, like, influencer events virtually now. So we'll pull them into a Zoom room, and we sent the people there, and they ate. And now they get to do a personal Q&A while I do some demos. So I'm going to do the spicy basil chicken cashew. I'm going to do the Thai coconut curry, and I'm going to do the Korean gochujang steak dish. And yeah, so these sound interesting. Go check it out. I'm totally not trying to pimp or anything like that. This is your show. I'm all about content. I want to make sure people like learn stuff. So.
That's good. I love it.
Gadgets.
I want to talk about gadgets, man, because I know your kitchen's like set up at home, which is your studio, which is your classroom, which is your who knows? Maybe you sleep in there some nights. I don't know.
When Allie's mad at me, I do. I sleep right here. Yeah.
Tell me, because people ask me this all the time, and it's one of the things I do not have. Top 3 uses for an air fryer.
Oh yeah. Firstly, let's be real, and I need to piggyback up Alton Brown's sentiment. It doesn't fry because there's no oil in it. But that being said, I will go heads up with my mentor and say it is one of the items I use the most. So top 3 uses, right? It gives you restaurant level convection heat, meaning you can reheat and brown and crisp all at the same time. You can actually, because it's such a concentrated chamber of hot air, you can actually roast incredibly fast. You could turn down the fan, and like roasting vegetables, like root vegetables, like sweet potatoes or any of those parsnips, usually take an hour and 15 minutes to get brown and soft and tender. The convection oven does that in 1/3 of the time. So roasting, crisping. And I have one, without mentioning the brand, that has a grill insert, which I recommend because, you know what, I just punched out burgers for my daughter's lunch in 5 minutes. And so I drop the patties raw seasoned. 4 minutes later, I put the cheese on, and next to it, I put the buns on, and that's an extra 30 seconds. Like quick cooking, like really fast cooking. If you understand convection and what really high heat can do, and you can get a brown crust on anything. You can cook fish from frozen and chicken. I do chicken wings, any proteins from frozen to cooked within 15 minutes. Like it's incredible. It's incredible. Air fryer. So there you go. There's my air fryer thing.
You may have changed my mind. I need your point of view on a wok for home use because personally, if someone mentions it to me, I'm like, just use a big skillet. Because I think I have a big, beautiful stainless steel, like great name brand wok. I honestly think I've used it once and I should give it to someone who may use it. But is there a place for a wok in a standard home kitchen that doesn't have the fire under it that a restaurant does?
No, to real simply, no, Cappy. You are absolutely right. I think your Dutch oven is your best wok alternative because it's a unit, it's a multitasker. So I only own the wok that your class got me. So when we did camp, they sent me a wok. And in all my years of cooking, I have a wok that my grandma gave me. It lives in the garage and I never pull it out. So the best wok alternatives are 2. Number 1 is your Dutch oven, right? Enamel Dutch oven, your Staub, Le Creuset, Lodge, just to name the big 3 so no one gets butthurt, right? And then, and secondly, a saucier or a large skillet with at least 2 to 3 inch sides. Because to your point, we don't cook enough Asian food daily to justify this 9 to 15 inch pan that takes up too much real estate. So I'm not about needing to own a wok. I've written in my books, enamel Dutch oven, best wok alternative. Better, in fact, because of the heat sources we have in American kitchens.
That's a great tip. And then lastly, I know you are all about the coffee, and I'm just saying this only because you say you got to keep caffeinated, only because they're a partner of ours this season. So no need for you to say it.
No, go for it.
So it's Keurig, but I'll tell you, because I like to say I went from zero to coffee snob like very quickly when I lived above a incredibly delicious coffee shop in Chicago. But they actually have a new limited edition collection they're doing with these like 5 different craft roasters around the country. It's something they never really do. And all the proceeds are going back to these roasters to support, during these times. So if you or your chef needs some of that, it's called Love Blend Coffee. Yeah,
Love Blend. Sounds good, man. Yeah.
Keep you caffeinated. So social impact. I want to talk about this because you are incredibly kind and giving, and all of our guests on Beyond the Plate give back to their community in different ways. And you know this because chefs are incredibly generous. And your charitable efforts are quite impressive too. So can you just tell us, generally speaking, about some of the work you do or projects you support?
Yeah, I'd love to. My brother is a police officer, not super popular right now, but a group of friends that I grew up with are military and police. So just some specific charities that I support. One is called Spike's Canine Fund. My buddy Jimmy Hatch was a Navy SEAL for many, many years. And, he was a canine handler while he was there. And his charity focuses on obtaining bulletproof vests for canine working dogs. Canines for Warriors. They take rescue dogs, train them into service dogs for veterans that come back with PTSD, military sexual trauma, the TBI, traumatic brain injury. So I have an extensive group of friends who, kept us safe for many, many years during the worst times in the last 30 years, and I find it that it's my mission to give back. So I also raise money for No Kid Hungry. I also raise money for St. Jude's. So those four are really my big focus. But I actually do a lot of volunteer work. So through COVID and post-COVID, schools with culinary programs that don't have a lot of money, if they reach out to me and I have time, I'll do culinary demos for them. And I'm sending hundreds of books a week to people so they can raise money and sell them off and stuff like that. So
that's amazing. So was there a particular moment in your personal or professional life that instilled this sense of giving on you?
For the military stuff, one of the kids that was very close to my family, he went off, he became a Marine and did a bunch of tours, and, he came back with a lot of PTSD. And this is a kid that, I helped raise, and I was with him for a lot of his teenage years until he became an adult. Then he enlisted and went off, and I saw the effects of trauma, military trauma from being deployed, and that was it. It was very impactful for me, again, it's just the calling that I have. You know what I mean? I'm happy to help anyone, but I have a specific calling for military and police charities.
Well, I wanted to give you've named some great organizations. We do this moment where we let you shed some light on an organization or fund that you want to raise awareness for. You've named some great ones, but is there someone or an organization that moved you recently that you want to shout out?
No, yeah, I did. And I appreciate you, Cappy, that if you guys do go to spikescaninefund.org, you could read James Hatch's story, and he has a book called Touching the Dragon. And, trauma is trauma. That's another thing I kind of want to call mental health and trauma. I think that I think a lot of us as cooks, I think what pushed us into cooking and this camaraderie and this family of cooking has been trauma. And, I've had my fair share. And I think what I've learned from a lot of my veteran friends who've come back from war is, the effects were pretty similar. They've been through a lot worse. And they would say no, by the way. They would say trauma is trauma. So I just want to raise awareness to, you could be a tough guy, but you could feel your feelings. And I think I learned that really, really late in my life. So, if we're all going through a lot of stuff, and if you just take a little bit of time and just kind of tune into your social and emotional kind of needs, I think that can push all of us into being just better people, better citizens, better family members, better friends. So that's it. I'm getting off my soapbox.
Preach, man, preach. I love it. It's fantastic. But I think you raise a good point. Even, whether it's going to the canine site to check out what they're up to, maybe it inspires you, maybe you learn a story, maybe it moves you to give $1. Give an hour of your time, use your voice. I think, I repeat this, but I'm not going to stop repeating it. Any way you do that is you're going to make a difference for someone. So
just tell your karma make. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you're sending books out. That's, they're going in auctions, or someone's learning to cook from them at the end of the day. I mean, there's a whole domino effect there.
Yeah. So. Cooking is amazing, man, because it's therapeutic. It's also a life skill. So that's why I'm also into teaching. I mean, it's something that I have inside me, and if I can help someone with it in any way possible, I mean, that's what I'm going to do, because, again, if you've got a skill or a gift and you're not sharing that, I do very good in life, and I'm appreciative of that. So the way to give back is to, if anyone needs help, I'm always around to help.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's do a quick speed round here. What did you have for dinner last night?
Oh, what did I have for dinner last night? chips, guacamole, salsa. It was one of those nights, man. We were busy, so scrounging.
We talked to Michael Simon in this season, and he said, "Oh, I had bolognese with pappardelle." And in my head, I'm like, "Man, sounds delicious." And he's like, "But it was cold out of the fridge."
There you go.
You know?
Yeah, no. We have 2 kids, 2 dogs, bro. So it was quick. And I think I got a vegetable roll or something like that from the grocery store. It was nothing sexy, but satiating.
There you go. Name a smell in the kitchen you love.
Other than garlic, ooh, yeah, I'm in the savory zone right now. Another smell that I love. Caramel, burnt sugar. How's that?
Name a smell in the kitchen you hate.
Oh man, I don't know if there is one. I don't know if there is one. I don't like the smell of roasting peppers.
Like that charred pepper smell. What pisses you off in the kitchen?
People who don't clean up after themselves. Clean as you work and work clean, dude or dudette.
What makes you happy in the kitchen?
Just people like feeding people. Yeah, it could be my dog, my wife, my kids. It doesn't matter. But, people smiling because I've made something and they've enjoyed it.
Speaking of which, in your book, 101 Asian Dishes You Need to Cook Before You Die, tell us the number 1 dish we all should know how to make.
Everyone must.
Or top 3.
Okay. Everyone needs to learn how to make fried rice. Like you have to learn how to make fried rice, right? Because there's so many variants. It's a 1-plate meal. It's got everything in it. Everyone must learn how to make Korean short ribs. And everyone should learn how to make quick pho, because you can be eating pho in 30 minutes. And I know you're going to give me a hard time. Not you, but people have doubted, but they've come around. So, you know what I mean? So those are the 3 dishes you should eat out of 101 Asian.
Got it. 1 or 2 more, and then we'll wrap. For a young cook who wants to do it all, they've seen you do it all. Where should they start?
Just for a young cook, first cook as much as you can at home, and then if you can, get a job at a restaurant, because you can't buy the information that you're learning working. You can't buy that. So barring local labor laws and all that other stuff, if you can just sit there and work in a restaurant 1 to few nights a week, it's going to change your life. Not just what you're going to learn cooking wise, but just a restaurant and a food business has its own energy. You know what I mean? And you need to understand that energy, because it just scales up or scales down. But you'll learn really quickly if this is really how you want to dedicate your life, because it is a brutal amount of hours and years before anything becomes of it. And you need to know if you can do it or not.
Yeah. Are there any young cooks or chefs that you have your eye on in the industry? It's such a hard time now, being that we're not out as much as we usually are. But
yeah, you're right, Cappy. It's a weird time. And in my mid 40s now, getting to my late 40s, I'm not out in the brick and mortars anymore. So I'm not, you know what I mean? My perspective has changed quite a bit. But let me think on that. I can't think of anyone right now, because I think it's hard to see people right now. So I'll think about that one.
Yeah, all good. All right, let's close it out here. If your grandmother were here today and you were able to cook in her kitchen again, as you wanted to do, what are you making for her?
Oh, man. All Asian families in Los Angeles eat at Lowry's the Prime Rib for special occasion days, because it's some of the foods they don't know how to make. And so I would sit there and roast off a really beautiful rib roast from Snake River Farms, make a phenomenal au jus, and just this normal fixings, mashed potatoes and cream corn. And Asian kids will understand that, or probably ethnic kids will understand that. It's that we grew up with all these phenomenal foods we don't realize that are phenomenal till really late in life, but we don't know how to make the fundamental, the basics of a really good Sunday lunch. So that's what I would make her.
Yeah. Awesome. Jude, thank you for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it. I know you're busy. I hope you had fun. I'm excited to cook from this book literally tonight. I've been like waiting for this book, and I don't know why I didn't have it on my shelf and on my counter, I should say, yet. But keep kicking ass, man. You're an inspiration, and all you do to give back to the community, and watching you on social media as a father, I love it. It's great.
Thanks, Kevin. Keep doing this, man. There's not enough thoughtful, positive content, and you do that. So thank you for taking it seriously. And it's not just not finger guns, right? It gets deeper than finger guns. So hey, thank you for getting deeper than finger guns.
Yeah, man, you got it. Thank you.
Later, brother.
Thanks again to Chef Jet Tila. Find more on him at chefjet.com. If you want to learn more about some of the organizations he mentions, I highly encourage you to seek those out. They are called Spike's Canine Fund, Canines for Warriors, No Kid Hungry, and St. Jude's. Find me and keep up to date with this podcast across all social media platforms at On Cappy's Plate, or go to beyondtheplatepodcast.com. Beyond the Plate is on all the socials at BT Plate Podcast. This episode was produced by myself, along with Ian Cohen, Joel Yetton, and Sean Petrosian. Thank you to Sarah McClellan-Me for her digital media skills. Our music has been composed by Goldford. As always, special shout out to my wife, Katie. Please rate, review, and or subscribe to this podcast on your listening site of choice. Don't forget to join us this Friday for another episode of Beyond the Drink, our companion podcast of Beyond the Plate, made possible with the help of our friends at Deep Eddy Vodka. We're back with master mixologist, the legendary Tony Abughanim. He's got a perfect cocktail for us for holiday time. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Plate. I'm Cappy, and remember, there are never too many cooks in the kitchen.